Hi, this is Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I've got this Darling Donkey expansion card, which is a fun fold to share with you. Let's set this aside and get to the creating. For our expansion card, I'm going to start with a piece of Whisper White. Now, it is already scored, though we're not going to burnish those score lines just yet. But I do want to put down some strips of the Oh So Ombre designer paper to use as guides for some of our stamping. That'll help us figure out our spacing. You can find measurements for all of this on my blog because I'm terrible at being able to talk to you and give you measurements at the same time, and then that way you can watch or chat along with me if it's the premiere and not have to worry about copying down measurements. You can know that you can just go straight to my blog and collect those when we're all done here. The link for that will be in the description below, and I'm just checking to make sure that I am right at the edge and then not coming over the score line. So I'm a little bit long here, and I will trim that up once I'm done adhering these other pieces. And the same thing. It is possible that I'm just a smidge long on each of these, and I just want to make sure that I am coming right up to the edge of the paper. Let me flip this over, and I've dipped down a little bit. It will be important to keep these straight or the finished piece won't look very nice. And then we'll add this last one. And I'm going to flip my ombre a little bit so that I've got my two dark ends here going out to light on either end. And I prefer to cut my strips as opposed to having one long strip because the card, at least for me, seems to fold more nicely. Okay, so everything is down. And let's do a little bit of stamping. We're going to start with Darling Donkeys. This is a free set during Celebration, which is in January and February 2021 for this set. And of course it requires a minimum product purchase, as always with Celebration products, to receive them. And if you're in the US, you can use the link in the description below to my store. Then next, I'm going to use this great speech bubble from You Are Amazing. It is, in fact, the reason that I bought the stamp set, though the sentiments are great, but I love having a speech bubble available for my sentiments. It's just a nice change up. And this stamp set is in the January through June mini catalog. If you haven't received one of those and you would like to shop with me, you can request one using the link to request a catalog in the description below. And I'm just rubbing all over. This is a lot of flat stamp and giving it time to transfer. That little line, not a big deal in my book. And then we need our other Darling Donkey stamp. And we're going to stamp her in Memento also. And let's put her over about right here. For the next step, I've already cut a mask of her from text weight paper. I prefer text weight because it doesn't, there's not as much bulk. And I've just offset her a little bit and that way you don't end up with as much border happening when you stamp this way. So I've got a stamp from the Punch Party stamp set. This is the host set during Celebration, and you can earn that when you host a party or place a large enough order during Celebration if you choose not to host. And then we're just going to frame her with this heart. I've inked it in Granny Apple Green, and again I'm just holding long enough to make sure that all that little detail transfers. Let's close up my ink pad while we give that a moment to dry, and then just going to take your pick tool here and slide right under my mask and pull it off, and there we have our donkey sitting in a heart. So now we need our sentiment, and then we need our sentiment. Now I have masked that off, and if I didn't mention, the sentiment is from Punch Party, and I'm just going to use my Blackberry Bliss ink and let it sit here long enough to make sure that I've gotten Blackberry Bliss on the stamp, and then let's take your pick and lift this mask right off so that I don't end up stamping with that on. I've done that. Let's straighten up my card, and I'm going to huff again because I may have waited just a smidgy too long. And give this a touch all over and give it a second to transfer. There we go. And then it's time to do a little coloring so that our donkeys aren't white. Okay, let me pick this up and move it out of the way and bring in some of my Stampin' Blends. And I've got a piece of vellum here to use for my softened blends technique. And I'm going to start over here with the rose, and I've just got the light Flirty Flamingo that I'm going to go in with, and then I'm going to give it a touch with the dark using the bullet tip down here just to give it a little bit of shading. And then let's do our stem here. Got to be very careful so that his teeth aren't green. And I'm using the Granny Apple Green on that, and that's just the light. Okay, so now it is time to color our guy, and I'm going to use primarily dark and light smoky slate, but I may bring in the light black, so we'll see for shading purposes whether I need to do that. So let's start up here, and we're going to do dark and then bring that out around. Okay, same thing on his ears. I'm going to start down at the bottom and do dark and then bring that up. And I kind of like to color and move my paper. I don't know how you do, but that's what works for me. Okay, and then let's bring the dark in here along the what would be his neck, and maybe right along the back here. And then we're going to use the light and blend that out a little bit. Don't want to lose all of our shading, but do want to be careful and not color over the stem for the rose. And again, we're going to come under here and give it a little bit of shading, because of course his head will give a little bit of shadow. So, didn't shade the two front legs at all, but I am going to go with the dark smoky slate back here and pull down a little bit. And the same thing here. Okay. And then I'm going to do a couple of strokes of the dark and a couple strokes with the light for his tail. So now we'll come over and do the same thing with her, and just coming in with the dark right up here at the top of her head and helping to shape her face. Okay, and then let's add some shadow here on the neck from her head. And then I'm going to use the dark across her back. And bring that in a little bit. I love that I don't have to color all in one direction because it blends. And I want a little bit of shading here on her belly because her legs are shading a little bit there. And then if I add a little bit here, it'll help to give some definition. And I'm going to add a little darker line back here and then blend that coming out through that leg. This leg won't get any more shading, but we are going to shade more for this one that's behind. And same thing with this one. Almost missed this one that was behind. So let's color her tail. Oh, and I'm forgetting her ears. So same thing. Let's go dark here. And dark here. And then let's cap these. So I did not end up using the light black in the blends. And let's find my piece of vellum here. And I'm going to use my Flirty Flamingo. And that was the dark Flirty Flamingo. I want the light Flirty Flamingo, so we'll just color over here with that. And pick a little bit up with my color lifter and put that in her ears. And same thing over here on his ears. Okay. And then let's just color that off. And I'm going to use that black then on the hooves. And I think I'm going to use the bullet tip for that. And let's blend that out with my light smoky slate. Got to give a little bit of differentiation for the hooves from his body, her body in this case. Okay, and then let's come back over here. And we'll bring some of that down. And we're just going to repeat that for all of them. I don't think that I'm going to add any color to the muzzles. Okay, let's cap those up. So now it's time to crease those score lines. I've got my bone folder, and let's just find our fold here. Make sure we're straight. And then find our fold here. Now you'll remember at the beginning I said I was over just a little bit on this designer paper, so now I'm going to come back and snip that little bit of overhang. And I have a Blackberry Bliss base, so we're going to add adhesive to this piece. And you could use the multi-purpose glue or the Stampin' Seal Plus, since this is a piece that will be tugged on, and they're both up to the challenge of being pulled against. So it looks like I have had a little cutting challenge today, and I need to trim a little bit off here, so I'm going to do that, and then I'll be right back and we'll finish. Okay, so now that I've cut that excess off, we're going to add some finishing details. I've got a little piece of the Oh So Ombre paper in the Granny Apple Green, and we're just going to add that as a little tab up here. Not only does it add some colors, but it gives some little place to touch and hold. Okay. And then these guys need to be grounded, so we're going to add a little more Stampin' Blends. So I'm going to use my light smoky slate and color on my vellum, and use this same softened blends technique and pick up some of that and just give them a little bit of something here so that they're not just standing or sitting out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so just a light shadow there grounds them, and then wipe your color lifter off when you're done. And then I'm going to add a few of the Whale of a Time sequins here. Let me grab my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm using, I should flip these over so that I have the cupped side up when I put them down. So I'm using one of the lighter blue sequins and my fine tip glue, just a little bit of that. And we're going to go with one down in here, and don't want to move it. When you're using fine tip glue, you just put it down and let it be. If you move things around, it leaves a little bit of a snail trail look, and we don't want that. Or you might. Could be a fun technique that way. Okay, and let's pull this one off and flip this last one over. Oops. I like to use my hands and let them help each other with this to keep them steady. And we're going to come down somewhere here so that we're sort of framing our donkey over on that side. So let me cap up my fine tip glue, and that is our Darling Donkey expansion card. You can earn your Darling Donkey stamp set free during Celebration in January and February. Please give this video a thumbs up. I love to hear your comments and love it when you share my videos. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell if you'd like to be notified the next time I upload a video. Have a great day. Bye.